Hello and welcome to my once in the blue moon live. So today I am answering some questions, and for those who don't know me, my name is Ruta. I'm female coach, emotional well-being practitioner, holistic trauma integration enthusiast, and also radiant womb woman program creator. So I'm working with people, mainly with females, but also once in a while I get some male client where I serve for guidance. Okay, so I received lots of questions. I have some questions from before which I haven't answered, so I basically have them on my mobile. So I'll be reading them and I'll be answering them. If you have any questions, send me it in the message. I'm not wearing contact lenses, so I cannot necessarily see everything. Hello, Inga. Hello, Aya. Hello, Tia. That's great to see you all. And let's see. So we start from the first question, which is from Kri. Maybe it's supposed to be Chris, but I have Kri, so Kri. How can I avoid ruminating about someone who has hurt me? So the question is, how can I avoid ruminating about someone who has hurt me, which means probably he or she keeps on thinking about the person that has hurt them at some point in the past. So the more you try to avoid thinking about something, you have the opposite. When you try to not to think about something, you actually thinking about that thing. It's kind of like an opposite effect because you're focusing on not thinking about someone. So that's the first thing. The more you focus, the probably more you get that effect of thinking about that person. Now, the reason why you keep on thinking about that person who has hurt you is because you still have a wound open. So it's kind of like an emotional wound. So the pain is still there and it's still alive and you're still feeling it. So if somebody has hurt you in the past and okay, that has happened, it hurt, now things has happened following that, or you made a peace with it, or you somehow grew out of it, or you learned from it, or you maybe expressed that and that pain is no longer there, you wouldn't be thinking about that person. So the fact that you are thinking about that person who has hurt you in the past, you're ruminating, it means that the hurt, the feeling, the effect of that, it's still there. In other words, that means you still have active trauma. You have been traumatized by what that person has done to you, and you are still live in that circumstance, or let's say part of you still lives in that experience. So the way to resolve it permanently would be actually to do some trauma integration work. What I work with is several modalities, but one of them would be actually consciously go back in that moment when that person has hurt you, what they done to hurt you, and relive consciously your emotions and experience, and then validate your feelings, and then change the circumstances. So you can say this is, in imagination, it is not real, but what it does, it actually has this effect of healing. So the process that I briefly described, it's called the completion process by Teal Swan. You can look it up. It's actually, you can do it yourself. So what it does, because even the pain of the memory of that person that has hurt you, or the effect of that trauma, is in your memory, but also is in your energetic field, is in your cellular memory, is in your auric field. Okay? So it's not physical anymore. So this process is also not physical, it's energetic, and you can say it's visualization. But the point of this process, while you're visualizing and while you're going through that, you are experiencing emotions. Also, you are validating your own emotions. So you don't have this like, oh, they've done that to me 10 years ago and I felt like that then, now I shouldn't be feeling like that anymore. All of that is actually not helping healing, because you kind of, it's like a skipping CD. Part of you still feels that way, but you are saying, no, I shouldn't be feeling that way. So what that process does, you actually go back into original point of trauma, you relive it consciously, you allow yourself to feel everything you are feeling, and that completes the trauma cycle, because then you complete the whole effects and all the needs that needs to be met in that situation. Or if you want that the situation play out differently in your memory, you can do it. You can even feel the feelings that you would have felt if things have turned different way. Okay, so that's, I would recommend doing one of the trauma integration exercises, and also understanding and remembering that more you try not to think or not to ruminate, about somebody, the more you will, because by the law of attraction, by the power of your focus, you keep on attracting that person or that thought of that person or what they've done back into your mind. But anyways, in conclusion, your trauma is still active and you need to integrate it, and then you will stop ruminating about that person. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, and yeah, let me know. Okay, the second question that I have is from Tim. Why do people have a hard time believing in positive change in someone? So, some people have not such a hard time in believing in positive change. Some people have a hard time. Those people who have a hard time are the people who either have been hurt by that person, or maybe they have similar situation of observing person like that in their life and they never changed, or they thought that the person will change and then temporarily the person changed in a positive direction and then they changed back. So they may have been disappointed in expecting that this person would have changed and then experiencing that person changing back or actually not changing. So if there is somebody, let's take example, let's say somebody who is family member of an alcoholic. They see the person drinking all their life, and then the person says, okay, I'm going to change. They stop drinking temporarily, then they start again. Then they stop drinking temporarily, they say, yes, this time is for sure, and they start again. And it's like that on and on and on and on. So that person who might have believed that this person would have changed, they might be very disappointed, and then what has happened, they became very much hurt because, okay, I believe that you're really going to change and you didn't. And therefore those people then later on, they stop believing in a positive change in people, and they just basically, okay, people don't change, I don't believe that people would ever change, while in reality some people can change in a positive direction, but they don't believe it because they're trying to protect themselves from being hurt again. So I hope that makes sense, and it's usually, depending on the personal experience of the person that you have in mind. So let me know if that makes sense, Tim. And let's go on to the next question. So the next question is from Omaima, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. And she asks, I subconsciously keep on comparing myself to my perfect best friend, and it makes me feel inferior. What should I do? Okay, so comparing, I don't know what your age is, but for example, if you would be teenager, comparing yourself with your peers would be completely normal and probably more common than, for example, somebody who's a kid or someone who is grown up. Although it can happen. So if you, first of all, you see your friend, your best friend, as perfect, okay? So somehow there is some kind of idealization that is going on. So it could be that you have observed that in your environment or in her environment or in both of your environment, she is kind of recognized as beautiful, kind, clever. I don't know what qualities you consider as perfect, but in some way you have idolized and probably put her on a pedestal as a role model, saying that she's perfect. So when you have something like that, and then you see yourself, and obviously every single of us are different people, so it doesn't matter how similar we are, apart from identical twins, we're going to be different from those people around us. Even if we have a similar views, if we look similarly, we go to the same school, we're still going to be different. So when you idolize something and you think they are perfect, and then you look at yourself, you keep on comparing yourself to this, let's say, checklist that says, to be perfect, I should be like that. And then because this person is different, you keep on looking at her and saying, okay, I like in that, she's like this, I'm not like that, she's so beautiful, she has a black hair, I have a brown hair, she is tall, I'm short, she has A+, I have a B in mathematics, for example. And then you fall short of this comparison. So what should you do is, well, first of all, it's actually belief system, and second of all, to understand that perfection is basically some kind of ideal. And I'm sure that for her, somebody else is perfect. For another person, somebody else is perfect. So what is perfect? Who's perfect? Is kind of like a very open question. There is no one single opinion who or what is perfect, right? So what you should do, you should be looking at yourself and what qualities you like in yourself, or maybe you like developing, and probably there is a problem with you fully accepting yourself or you actually liking yourself. So if you decide that, okay, there is no one say standard for being perfect, but there is maybe, okay, let's just say you are in a picture gallery and there are different pictures, and that would be like every single picture is a piece of art. So you cannot say, okay, this picture is perfect and now all the other pictures should look like that, right? They are different and they have a different qualities, and different people like different pictures. So if you see yourself like that, if you're starting yourself instead of comparing to her, seeing as individual creation, individual piece of art, and then saying, okay, you know what, I actually have this quality that I like, I have this other quality that I like, or I like my smile, I like my eyes, or I'm good at gymnastics, and you start kind of putting your focus in those qualities in yourself that you like, then you start taking your focus so much from your best friend and from comparing yourself to your best friend, and then you start turning your focus to yourself, and you also start increasing your own confidence. And as you start doing that, you also appear more confident to other people, you become more confident to yourself, and also other people start looking at you and like, oh, what happened to her? Okay, there is something different about her, right? So if I were you, I would start doing that. And also, I don't know your age and I don't know your circumstances, so if you send me more clarifications about, in what context you're comparing her, then I would be able to answer this better. Okay, I have another question from Tim. How can you make anger a positive emotion? Okay, so anger, well, in our society, anger is seen as bad emotion because usually people angry, they look horrible, let's say, or they look dangerous, they kind of like raise their voice, break things, or shout on people, or, get in fights. But anger itself is not really negative or positive emotion. It's just seen as negative emotion because it's kind of dangerous for society. What anger is actually is a reaction to somebody or something crossing your boundary. So it could be physical boundary, somebody pushed you, or somebody does something that triggers you. And anger is actually, so how to make anger a positive emotion? If you see that anger is empowering emotion. So from perspective, imagine you are in a situation where you are being abused all the time, or you are being taken advantage of all the time, and you are kind of in a victim state, and you keep on taking all of this beating or abuse, and you keep on staying in that situation, and one day you start to feel this anger rising up, and then you say, okay, enough is enough, right? I'm out of here. This is gotta stop, right? So when you look at anger from this perspective, anger is not negative emotion. Anger is positive emotion because it will push you from the state of disempowerment in a state of power. And also lots of people, sometimes people, they are not able to, let's say, redefine their boundaries or get out of powerless situation unless they get angry. So ideally, you would be able to say, okay, well, this situation is not good for me. I'm gonna get out of this situation. But many times there is lots of emotions involved and lots of behavior and relationship patterns involved, and people are not able to do that. But when people get angry, it kind of is almost like a rocket fuel that gets lit up, and then you are able to kind of boost yourself out of that situation. So when you look at it like that, Tim, then anger is actually not a negative emotion, it is positive emotion. So for example, if you have anger issues and somebody's saying, oh, you should be not so angry, or you should do something about your anger, chances are that maybe you have lots of suppressed violation of your boundaries in you, and you have this container tank really full, and then you keep on breaking and bursting into anger. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm just guessing based on your question. So anger is not negative or positive emotion. It could be negative when used negatively, and it could be positive when used positively. Anger is powerful emotion, and it gives you power. So okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay. Okay, next question from Ethan. And it says, how do I handle the situation of arrogant, mean parents that drive me to the point of high anger and sadness, but force you into a mental hospital if you act out against them? Okay, I don't know your age, but because you're asking that your parents might actually put you in a mental hospital, I'm guessing you are still under 18. And probably, I can tell you from their point of view what's happening. Probably you have some anger issues, and there is definitely reason for it. So now I'm not talking, and I'm not questioning is the reason valid or not valid. Emotionally, for you personally, if you feel anger, there is a reason for that. So nobody can argue for that. So it doesn't matter what your internal reason, but that means something is going on inside of you that triggers you. And the fact that you said arrogant, mean parents, you probably see them as arrogant and mean, and probably you receive their behavior towards yourself as arrogant and mean, which is subjective perspective, however, subjective true perspective from your point of view. Now, why they force you in the mental hospital? It's like that. People who cannot handle situation themselves, they call other people who can, or they think they can handle the situation better than they do. So if parents are actually forcing you to mental hospital when you act out, it means the acting out, when you act out, they actually feel powerless, and they don't really feel like they can handle you. They probably don't feel like they can talk to you, and probably they are actually scared of that reaction and they don't know what to do with it. So how do you handle the situation? So again, let's say if you, like, depends on if you're nearly 18 or 16 or let's say 17, so you're young adult, but the fact that you are asking it on here, it tells me that you are kind of conscious, of this, and you want to change the situation. You basically need to find a way where you can have a dialogue with your parents, and you also need to find a way how you, let's say, handle uncontrollable anger outbursts. I don't know why I'm getting so many questions about anger, probably because I did some articles. Anyways, so if you don't want your parents to put you in a mental hospital every single time you act out, then do this. Watch yourself in which situations you act out. So recognize what triggers you to the point where your parents don't think they can have a reasonable conversation anymore. So what you need to demonstrate is that even though you are angry, you are in this anger phase, you are still able to have a conversation with them, or you are able to handle it in a non-destructive way. So non-destructive way means you don't break things, you don't, let's say, go away somewhere where they cannot find you, you don't beat people up. So basically you need to find a healthy outlet for your anger, and you also need to find like a agreement with your parents. Like, for example, when I start to act out, guys, all I need is some space and give me 1 hour and then I'll be better. I don't know your parents, and I don't know if you can have this dialogue with them, but if you could, basically that's how it would go. So the way not to get sent back in a mental hospital is to show that actually you can manage, you can manage all of these outbursts or acting out, or you recognize that you acted out, because, mental hospitals, my personal opinion is they just pump you with the medications. They don't really go into root cause of the problem. And another thing is, have a look what is actually fueling and creating this anger. If you're acting out because of anger, you have the anger issues, but at the same time, somewhere there is the source of it. So it could be something in your home environment. So it could be even your parents, right? So you can even have this dialogue with your parents that this and this and this and this that you guys do, or you restrict me, actually makes me feel very powerless, and then I have no other way to show my power or to feel like I'm being heard, unless I act out when I feel angry. So if we would never get to the point that I feel that way, then I wouldn't be acting out. So if you guys want to work with me with that, we can do that. So if you can have this conversation with your parents, that would help. But most important thing is start to become self-aware. What triggers it? How do you act? Is there any other way that you could channel that anger? Is there any other way that you could go from that high point? And I'm not saying suppress, because suppression doesn't work. Suppression just push it back, and next time it comes bigger. It's kind of like a fountain, right? So basically, self-awareness, find a healthy outlet for your anger. Maybe you do sports, go and have a run when you're angry or something to get that edge off, and then think about what triggered it. Why is that? So don't ignore it, don't suppress it, but make it more manageable for yourself and for your parents. And like that, they will not feel the need to put you in a mental hospital when you act out. Okay, so that was question 5. Okay, one more question, and then I have to go because I have a small daughter that I need to look after. So another question is, my partner's parents have threatened to have her children taken from her if she continues to see me. Is this emotional blackmail? Can anything be done legally to prevent her parents controlling her choices? Question from Steve. So I don't know about legality. You would have to consult with the legal professional. But the fact that your partner's parents are threatening to take away her children away from her if she continues to see you tells me that somehow her parents identify you as bad influence, dangerous influence, or something basically that affects her or maybe even her children negatively. So you need to kind of look at what is that. Are you drinking? Are you using drugs? Are you abusive? Maybe you don't do any of that. Maybe they just don't like you, right? Maybe they just see that you are a bad match to her. So you need to kind of drill down into what are those things that they see as dangerous enough to take her children away from you. Because if they're threatening in that way, that means somehow they think they can win it, right? So that's all I can say. Emotional blackmail. Yes, it is emotional blackmail. Yes, that would be pressurizing your partner's emotional buttons. And yes, probably she would be then not wanting to see you. But at the end of the day, this situation is not really fully up to you. All you can do, you can either change your behavior, or you can look at, okay, how her parents see you, right? How her parents see you, what are you doing or not doing that it doesn't really go down well with them. And also, one thing that never really works is like trying to, if you are saying to her, like, don't listen to your parents, listen to me, then of course they see you as their enemy. And they also see you as a danger to her, and maybe also cutting relationships between parents and your partner. So try to be more gentle, right? Because going in a dictatorship mode never really works, right? So if there are more than one people involved in this, let's say, your relationship, and of course your partner having kids, if you try to find the best possible conversation and, to kind of do something like a grown-up person, like, okay, guys, you don't like me. I understand that, but, I like your daughter and I want to continue to see her. Would you have any feedback to me? I don't know if you can have this conversation, but you can maybe even ask your partner, like, what is in me that they feel so threatened by me seeing you that they want to take your children away from you. So I don't know, how much based on, say, objective reality or facts that is, but the fact that they are saying that and pressuring their daughter, to stop seeing you by threatening to take her kids away from her, it tells me that obviously they identify you something unsafe, dangerous, or not good for their daughter. So the question is, how can you show that this is not the case? Or another option is, of course, I don't know, maybe the parents are crazy or controlling and they want their daughter to do exactly, what they think is best for her. In that case, I guess this is not the right place for that question. Need to know the situation specifically. But it's always the best to actually have a dialogue with people and to show that you want to have a dialogue with people. If you are seeing her and, you want her in your life, of course, she has her parents. So they are part of her life, you want it or not. So in some way, one way or another, directly or indirectly, you will have to be dealing with them too. So if you have a patience, or if you have enough, like, say, stubbornness to continue to see their daughter who has children, my advice would be find some way that would work for everybody, right? Okay, so that's all I had time for today. I will do this again sometime. I hope you are having a beautiful day, and yep, have a beautiful Saturday wherever you are. Bye bye.